All right, here he is, Joe Mystic, a professor of law, Thomas Klein School of Law, Duquesne University, and a legendary columnist for the Trib. Before we talk politics, I'm looking at my computer screen right now. You know, the Yankees are coming to town this weekend, and we've got some new eats at PNC Park because it's always been about the food, and it always will be. But I see at Yankee Stadium, they are serving something new this year. It is a deep-fried meatball sandwich. Now, Joe, back in the day, how many of those do you think you and I could have crushed?
Well, too many. That's why it's back in the day.
Oh, my goodness. I still love talking about food, and he is one of the best. So here's the deal. I hope you understood the text that I sent you today. I'm seeing all these things happen in Washington, government cuts, crime, all of this stuff, military, tariffs, everything. And I'm starting to look at this mayoral race on a smaller scale, but a lot of the same issues are coming up. So here's the question. How did we get this place that we are in America, whether it be Washington, D.C. or our beloved Pittsburgh, to where we're just running out of money, no corporate entities, no jobs, the middle class disappearing each and every day in front of our very faces? That actually was the reason why we became the city of neighborhoods, because of that middle class. Where did we go wrong, Joe?
Well, I think a number of things have happened. COVID was not an easy thing for any American city to get over. And we needed some leadership to really jump on the initiatives that were necessary for that recovery out of the gate. And it hasn't happened. We've squandered 4 or 5 years here. It's it's just not the leadership we needed has not been there. I mean, you have to actively recruit investment in your community. You have to put aside some of your petty squabbles. You can't freeze out the region's largest employer and reject their offers of assistance, financial assistance. You can't get away with that. You can't pretend that developers are the enemy. I know that's an anthem that appeals to certain people on the far left, but you have to embrace developers. You have to recognize that they're capitalists. They need to make a buck. But they can also help with the development of affordable housing that you need in your town. But it has to be a cooperative effort. You have to give something to get something. And we're upside down here. It's all the people we need have been frozen out or treated as if they don't have a place in this town. And we just have to get back to working together.
You can't live in the past, but how do you think some of the mayors that used to run this town, and you know the names, even though they had the steel workers and the jobs and the paychecks, how do you think they would have handled? I think they would have listened a little bit more, and they would have been willing to reach across the aisle a little bit more.
Well, my mayors, the mayors I've worked for and that were later friends of mine, were regular Pittsburgh folks. They knew that the only way we got ahead here was to work cooperatively, and that meant that Sophie Maslov and Elsie Hillman pulled the wagon in the same direction together for the good of the city.
Right.
It's not the kind of thing we're seeing anymore. I'm afraid that Mayor Gainey has taken a cue, oddly enough, from Donald Trump. And his,
even though he's comparing Corey O'Connor's administration to benefiting from Donald Trump, it's more him.
We can talk about that.
Okay.
But I think that Mayor Gainey's taken Donald Trump in that he seems to think that he can benefit if he divides us instead of uniting us. I know that a lot of these Trump initiatives have been dragged into this mayoral race. Now, if you can't fall for that, because that's just not what this race is about. This race is about a town that's not attracting development, has no strategy to attract investment, has an estranged relationship with the very people and institutions that we need here if we're going to recover, that is spiraling downward financially. I mean, we're in deep trouble, and I know he's trying to patch this thing together to get through the election. But the truth is, we're upside down. Our revenue is going down, our expenses continue to go up. It's not the right place to be if this city's going to come back.
Listen, I'm not going to ask you to go on record, but you're making me lean towards this question. So are you saying, as Corey O'Connor said, Pittsburgh can't take another 4 years of this Gainey administration? Are you saying that tonight?
I can tell you that I supported Ed Gainey because at the time I felt that he had a vision and he was hope for the future, and that we needed some fresh blood, fresh energy in the mayor's office. And he has shown that he's just not been up to that task. And so I think that Corey O'Connor, with some traditional values and a deep roots in Pittsburgh and in our government, can bring that fresh energy to the table finally.
Well, a lot will be expected of him if he does get elected. We'll have to wait and see. So if you had a chance to be that extra voice in the room, as you see it, what are some things that have to be done yesterday to help this city? I mean, immediate stuff. Go ahead.
Well, downtown should not have been allowed to deteriorate to the point that it had gotten to. I know Ed Gainey's, he wants to do a good job, but the things he's talking about today are aspirational. It's too little, too late. We should have made downtown a safer place in which people felt safe. And many of our major law firms and corporations would not have moved out of the city. Even to the extent that they moved other neighborhoods, that's still a blow to downtown Pittsburgh, which is the economic engine of our community, of our entire region, in fact. So he had to do that. He had to get on the right track fiscally. He should not have defunded the police because we need the police much more now than we've needed them in the past, and we need an economic development plan. We need people who know what they're doing to get behind the recovery of this city in a cooperative fashion, and not to feel like they're outsiders and they're not welcome here.
All right, let me get back to what we were talking about earlier. So this talk of Mr. Gainey saying that Corey O'Connor's campaign is benefiting from Donald Trump's administration. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah. Come on, it's if you can't run on your record, you have to find something else to run on, and perhaps astutely, the Gainey campaign has decided they're going to run against Donald Trump instead of running against Corey O'Connor. In the city, maybe that's a wise maneuver if you're trying to get a political upper hand. But this race is not about those things. We have bridges that are closed in major parts of our city with no ideas to when they might open, if they're going to open. We have deteriorating municipal motor pool. We have ambulances that break down on the way to the hospital. It's just things have gotten bad, and we need to look for the right kind of energy to get ourselves back on track.
In closing, I think it's fair to say that America is upside down in many ways, and I got to give you the last minute or so to talk about Donald Trump and this administration. I think it's a lot of shock and awe. They're throwing a lot of stuff up and just to see what sticks. Some of the stuff like veterans cuts in these universities and these other things have put some fear in me as well. I believe something has to be done, but I'm not so sure maybe in the big picture this is going to benefit America. What's your thoughts?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, the sheer cruelty of the way they're going about this is not only contrary to our interest as a viable federal government, but it's also just so mean-spirited, it's hard to understand. They seem to be taking pleasure in hurting people. We've had bad news right here in Pittsburgh today with a number of people being treated brusquely, at least. I mean, cruelly, I would say. So we have to get past this. I think the midterm elections are going to be very, very important.
All right, Joe, go ahead.
And so, that may be our first chance to fight back, to get America back on track, to treat our people with respect and dignity, to treat our veterans. My God, treat our veterans this way. I just don't understand that. My family has sacrificed, as have most families in this country, for freedom and liberty and for opportunity in this country, and the very people that have fought for that and protected us all this time are now being treated as if they're second-class citizens.
The common man with the voice of reason. He is a professor of law, Thomas Klein School of Law, Duquesne University, columnist for the Trib, longtime political activist, and a person who knows what he speaks of, Joe Mystic. Joe, thank you. Great segment tonight. I appreciate your time.
Rob, great being with you. You take care.